You were at Lake Rant, where I rant about whatever my $15 a month plus pages want me to rant about. You can get one of these by being one of those. This one's for Faf, who says, hopefully I'm not too late, but could you rant about Wadaten, An Angel Flew Down on Me? If you didn't watch the show or you don't have an opinion about it, can you rant about Greta Thunberg? Well, I only watched like a episode of that show, I think. We talked about it on Finish or Fail back when it aired. But Greta Thunberg is this kid, this meme kid, who's really passionate about climate change, I guess. She's a Swedish 16-year-old girl who looks younger, who I guess stood outside Parliament with a sign that said climate change matters for like fucking years, and a bunch of other kids joined her. And now she gives speeches and talks about how everybody's evil for not doing something about climate change. I guess what's perplexing to me about the existence of her is that, like, she's being so celebrated and so, like, you know, being given all these awards and considered like an influencer and all this stuff. But she's not saying anything newer that people aren't already saying. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but from my perspective, it seems like people do care about climate change. They just don't know what to do about it. People are trying their damnedest to find something to do about it. They're doing a bunch of weird shit, like using fucking paper straws. You know, whatever little thing people can do to try, they're trying to do it. But I mean, just the environmental issues are such an overwhelming, like, gigantic problem. And, like, I mean, we've been trying to call out the government for it for forever. Like, what is this girl going to do that Al Gore couldn't do, you know, with all his documentaries and his speeches? What is this contributing additionally, other than, I guess, maybe some young people might listen to her? I don't know. She comes off as like a huge fucking dork. Like, I've only seen like a clip of her speaking, but it was just this really like intense, angry, like embittered rant about how you've stolen her future away from her. And she's like, how dare you adults take my future? And I'm like, okay. First of all, this whole, like, you guys are adults and I'm just a kid and you're fucking up my future thing is ridiculous. Adults and children, it's the same people, just a few years down the line. You yourself are going to eventually be an adult who is impotently screaming into the void about climate change, just like the rest of the adults who are doing so. It's like, I understand that people are paying attention because she's a kid, and she's a kid who is very blunt and says the darndest things, if you will. You know, she's like really bitter and cutthroat about her message, but like, again, it doesn't change anything about the nature of the problem, you know. I just think it's like, basically, I think that if normal people came out and were as harsh as she was, then people would look at those people as like being, you know, overly harsh, over dramatic, or they would just look at them as like being an asshole. Like, the way she communicates, if an adult said the things she says, they would be considered an asshole. But because it's a young girl saying it, then everybody's like, oh, she's brave. She's fucking, you know, she's got such a strong message. We got to put her on TV, put her in front of everybody, you know. But it's like, I personally don't feel any differently hearing these messages from a kid as I would hearing them from an adult. Like, your future, whatever, my future, all of our future, my children's future, more so than your future, you know, like, nothing you're saying is something that is, you know, I mean, whatever. If somehow her screaming about climate change causes more good to come than it would have otherwise, sure. She's been given, like, Nobel Peace Prizes after, like, you know, saying things like, I want you to panic. I want everyone to panic about climate change. Panic on the streets of London. I don't know. It's just all a little over the top and melodramatic, and I don't really see, like, she's not doing research into climate change, you know, like, she's not somebody who's furthering our knowledge on the subject. She's not somebody who's, like, proposing new solutions. She's just really an outspoken activist, in a sea of outspoken activists. But because she happens to not just be a child, but look like like I thought she was like 10. Like I thought that was the point. Was like, oh, this little girl is like saying all this crazy shit about, yelling at politicians, but like no, she's a teenager. Like I feel like if any 16-year-old who looked like a 16-year-old was saying it, they would be, it would be treated like an adult was saying it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But, whatever. Good on her for being politically active at such a young age, even though it does sound like she kind of just skipped school and stood in front of the Parliament building with a sign day after day, which, sounds like more fun than going to school to me. So, good effort, I guess.